All right, and welcome back to the Falcons Fanatic Podcast, where the Falcons not only don't win the division or make the playoffs, but also fall short of a winning season for the seventh time in a row. The Falcons have done it again. They finished 8-9 this season in a loss to the Panthers, where our defense couldn't cover a sack of potatoes. And it's not that we couldn't cover a sack of potatoes; it's just that we didn't choose to. I mean, just such weak defense, letting them get everything in front of us. And this is what we saw in many games this season from the Falcons, where we let up huge points. The Vikings game just let everything in front of us. No explosive plays beating us. Just really soft coverage that they dice up every single time. It didn't really happen against the Commanders, but the Vikings put 42 points on us. Broncos did a really great job at capitalizing off of that. So did the Buccaneers in the past and the Seahawks. And it was once again another game where we let up 44 points, and we just couldn't get anything going defensively. We had a couple of nice plays in the secondary. Once again, our pass rush was nowhere to be seen, and that was, I think, the big difference here. Just no pressure at all. We got one sack, but it got called back off a penalty. Bryce Young was allowed to just sit in the pocket and move out whenever he needs to and find open players. I think, obviously, this year in the draft, the top priority has to be able to get a good, solid pass rusher, or if not, get one in free agency, trade for one. But if you look at the salary cap, because we're looking like we're going to have to cut Kirk Cousins, where it's either $65 million next year in dead money or $40 million next year in dead money, if we want to spread it out, post-June cut, spread it out over many years. I think we should probably do the pre-June first and get it over with. That's going to be $25 million, negative $25 million in cap savings. We're going to have to find out ways around that to get our guys back, because we did sign A.J. Terrell to a big deal, a big extension. And so you start looking around, and other than through the draft, it looks like we're not going to have many ways to improve this defense. So, if anything, the way that this defense has to improve is schematically. I think we're going to get, top 3 rounds. We can almost entirely invest defensively with our picks there, and hopefully that'll bring something along where we can have a pass rush and keep our level of coverage the same. But schematically, we have to stop calling these soft coverages where A.J. Terrell's on the outside giving Adam Thielen 7 yards of free space, airspace, every single play on the outside. We can't have 10 yards for, Xavier Legette. There was just so many open players. And I give all credit to Bryce Young for being able to find his open teammates, but I just think if you're the Falcons, you just need so much more. Bryce Young, you're allowing him a rating of 123.5, and to waltz down the field without the legs that, oh my God. I literally was, that's embarrassing, but the Commanders quarterback, Jaden Daniels, Jesus, lucky. Without the legs that Jaden Daniels has, you just let him find the open man every single time. We didn't really stop him, and you could just see the team deflate, because right after the coin flip, it was announced that not only, the Falcons didn't get the ball back once again for the second game in a row, where we lost basically the season on 2 coin flips, but also, what a Falcons way to lose this season. We lost that, but also we lost our playoff opportunity because the Buccaneers had one against the Saints, and it was looking like an opportunity that the Falcons were going to be able to sneak in, because the Saints were leading 16-6 at halftime. It's not a huge lead, but you would expect them to have a shot at holding it, and they gave it a good go. It just didn't work out. A couple of calls didn't go their way. A couple of insane plays from Baker Mayfield. I'll give him credit, finding extra space in the most infuriating ways and delivering some really tight on-time throws, and especially delivering in big-time spots like we've seen Michael Penix do now in 2 games. I would say 3, but the first game was sort of nothing against the Giants. Put up over 30 points in each of these games. really, really efficient offensively, and not over 30, over 20, 24 or more, which I think is impressive. And in this game, once again, another turnover from Penix, but another turnover that was not his problem. And the turnover was the difference in this game. That set up the Carolina Panthers for a touchdown, and when the Falcons had the ball with a touchdown lead. And I think it was entirely because Michael Penix is a left-handed quarterback. Sure, it wasn't placed in the right spot. It was thrown basically at Ray McCloud's feet. But you wouldn't expect a pass thrown at Ray McCloud's feet to go flying up in the air like that unless you remember the way that the spin goes on the ball is different with a lefty and righty. With a lefty, that ball goes straight up in the air. It's spinning, I don't know, counterclockwise, clockwise, one of the ways, going counterclockwise. And if it's the righty, it's going clockwise. If it's spinning clockwise there, it just dirts in the ground once it bounces off Ray McCloud's hands. But because it's a lefty, Mike Penix rolling out, it's spinning counterclockwise up into the air and into the hands of a Carolina Panthers defender, not Miles Sanders, Michael Jackson, and set up the Panthers really easy for a touchdown. Both teams scored on every single possession after that point. Touchdown, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Well, we saw some really big plays from Michael Penix. We saw some amazing rushes from Bijan Robinson, impressive rushes from Tyler Algier as well. We toted the ball 38 times, and we threw it 38 times. Michael Penix, his passing efficiency wasn't amazing, only 21 for 38, but 2 touchdowns, a lot of explosive plays from Michael Penix, and stuff that you couldn't imagine Kirk Cousins doing. I couldn't imagine Kirk Cousins throwing that one deep ball to Ray McCloud to end the second quarter, and then back-to-back 2 straight dimes to Drake London in the end zone to give the Falcons a 7-point lead. Kirk Cousins probably puts up 20 points in this game. All right, and our defense does the exact same stuff. So I think this game in particularly set it apart for me where, okay, it was the right decision to give Penix the ball. It maybe could have come earlier. Penix looks poised. He looks ready. I don't know how much of a difference more games would have gotten for Michael Penix. Maybe we would have snuck that Commanders game out. This game, it wasn't the offense's fault. The offense was doing everything we wanted. Very few penalties offensively. Defensively, that's a lot to clean up. I liked what I saw from Caden Ellis. Nate Landman made a couple of good plays, not in coverage, but in run defense, even though we did give up, 4 a carry to Miles Sanders. Not the greatest. As a whole, Carolina rushed 5.2, but then you have to remember, of course, they have a rushing quarterback in Bryce Young. Raheem Blackshear was 11 a carry just because of some big chunk plays. Like to watch from Caden Ellis and Nate Landman. Justin Simmons had some good plays tackling. Jesse Bates, pretty quiet. A.J. Terrell, very quiet. Clark Phillips made one good pass deflection. We saw a good one from D. Alford. But it was really the problem with this team is the edge. And when you don't have any give on the edge and minimal give up front, it just allows them to pick you apart. No matter how good your coverage is, you can't do anything about it. I just want to look at the top of this draft and see who we can find because it's that was really rough. And this season there were some good games from this defense this season, but that's just not good enough. Giving up 44 points to the Panthers and Bryce Young, and then allowing Bryce Young to look like a proper first overall pick. He was toying with us all day with, let's be honest, not a stellar group of pass catchers. Defensively, they had the exact same problems. Carolina could not defend the pass, could not defend the rush. There's a couple of plays where Michael Penix forced it, I found, into tight windows, but he's able to hit those tight windows that Kirk Cousins made. So maybe that's more of a me issue with those throws for Michael Penix because I'm used to having the arm strength of Kirk Cousins, and those would be picks. But Michael Penix is able to rocket it in there, no problem, even though it would look like the cornerback has leverage over the receiver. So who knows with that. Once again, a difference in this game. Riley Patterson misses the kick. Do not want to see him back for the Falcons. I think, give Koo a shot. Give somebody coming up from the draft a shot to be competing for that job. But Definitely not Riley Patterson. I've seen enough. Just you can see the way he kicks a ball. It's very inconsistent. The spin that the ball has, and that 50-yarder that he missed didn't have nearly a shot. And you could argue we lost 2 games because of Riley Patterson's kicking as much as those coin flips. So something to keep in mind. Mike Hughes gets injured in this game. That moves up Richie Grant to start playing, as well as a lot of more minutes from Clark Phillips. I liked what I saw from Clark Phillips. Richie Grant made 1 good pass deflection, 1 tackle, TFL, whatever. Yeah, a lot of decisions to be made defensively. I do not like what I've seen from Jimmy Lake so far to this point. I do think, obviously, we should give him a chance to turn it around. I don't think we should fire Terry Fontenot. I've seen a lot of that stuff. I think he's made more correct decisions than wrong decisions, even though his wrong decisions have been insanely costly. The free agent signings that he's picked up have been really impressive. He's picked up, let's not forget, he's picked up Mike Hughes. He's picked up Darnell Mooney. He's picked up in free agency, looking back, Cordero Patterson was a great pickup for us. If you look at every single spot, Caden Ellis was a free agent pickup. Jesse Bates and Matthew Judon, the trade wasn't as good, but he's made enough free agent pickups and had enough hits offensively where it counteracts just enough the mistakes he's made in trades, like with Matthew Judon, the mistakes he's made in the draft with Kyle Pitts, and the mistakes he's made with, I guess that's it. I guess those are the 3 things you can acquire guys. But another free agent mistake with Kirk Cousins. So I say we give Terry Fontenot another year. I think we give this Falcons core offensively many more years, because I love what I saw the last 3 weeks from this Falcons offense. To figure it out, figure out the spin of Mike Penix's throw. There was many times a drop from Drake London, drops from Kadarius Hodge early, where you think they just don't understand the spin on the ball, and they'll figure it out with Mike Penix. They would definitely will. And you saw the same thing with Kyle Pitts with his drop that turned into an interception against the Giants. So a lot to learn, a lot to build off of. Still a lot of frustration defensively. Still no pass rush. Still another losing season for the Falcons. And it was just so close to being what we were promised. And somehow the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sneak another 10-7 season and sneak another playoff appearance. And it's not going to be impressive. There was a point, they had to win 6 out of 7 weeks in a row to get to this point. The Falcons had to lose 3 out of 5, and we lose 3 out of 8, and we ended up lose 5 out of 8, and we ended up losing 6 out of 8. So just tough football, tough season. Still more disappointment. Games like the Chargers could have flipped. Games like the Commanders and Panthers easily could have flipped. The Saints game could have flipped. The Chiefs game could have flipped. And, the wins that we had could have flipped. Saints, Eagles, Buccaneers. Like, all these games are so close. And we just found our way on the wrong side of them too many times. And, yeah, I'll see you guys next year with hopefully a revamped defense with, whatever we are able to afford. Our defense is aging. We have to infuse a little bit of youth. I don't think we're going to thrive off of free agent signings for the rest of for next season. Offensively, we're young, we're youthful, we're good. Maybe pick up a wide receiver, maybe pick up an offensive lineman. I think other than that, we're good. See what Kyle Pitts is asking for. Maybe let him walk. Lots of different options for this Falcons team. But this was not it. And it's going to be a long offseason. But I think after watching this game, I think I'm ready. That was a lot of stress on myself, and maybe we'll get him back next year. So that's going to do it for this Falcons Fanatic podcast. I appreciate you guys for listening. I'll see you guys next year. Maybe I'll do some additions after the draft and stuff like that. We'll see how I'm feeling. But, yeah, rough year. We'll get him back, though. And I'll see you guys next time. Follow me on Twitter at Lucky Roberts if you like. Appreciate you guys for listening.